Hey everyone. Today we're going to be unboxing, configuring, and evaluating this Epson EcoTank printer. Usually $8.99 and currently $7.99, I got mine on sale for $5.99. Now my printer's 42 years old and it's on its second ribbon, but my wife is looking for something a little more modern. We chose the 5800 from the line of EcoTank printers, not only because of these available features, but this one specifically, which is the two-sided scanning feature, which we'll be evaluating. Let's unbox. We have a supplied power cord, setup documentation on paper as well as software.
Ink for a decade.
Ink for a decade. The inner flap shows the safe way to remove the printer from the box, so we're going to do that now with two people lifting it with the bag. A bag is also provided to package the printer in the event of a return. Unboxing completed. We'll remove the bag. And Lily told us we got to follow the instructions, so we're going to follow the instructions. Unpacking completed, we're going to move on to the removal of the protective materials from the product. This lever did not arrive in the shipping direction because it was taped together. This is only put in this direction if you're shipping it back, so we're going to leave it in this direction. Let's fill up the ink. Opening up this cover, you can see the 4 ports from which we're going to fill the ink. And we're going to be starting with the black ink first, all the way on the left, opening that flap, then removing the bottle from the packaging. The cap is unscrewed from the bottle. And the bottle is keyed as to only fit in the correct port. So it's simply flipped over and locked into position. Don't squeeze or shake. And we'll have a look through the inspection window as the ink slowly fills into the reservoir. It takes a while, so I've sped this up at 12 times the speed so we can move on. And once filled, we can see that it comes to just below this top line here where the arrow is. The bottle's then pulled off and capped. And the cover to the port is closed. No mess, too easy. I'll repeat this process for the cyan and magenta, and finally yellow. And that's it. The ink is filled for a good long time. Close this cover and move on to the next step. Now we'll unpack the supplied power cord, which will plug into the back of the machine. It only fits one way because it's keyed. And before we apply power, the screen is adjustable, so we'll lift it up so the camera can view it better. Pressing the power button, we get underway. Zooming in closer to the screen for a better view. We'll be selecting English for this demo, USA, and winter for daylight savings time. The date format is a matter of personal preference. We'll select one.
13. Oktober.
And we'll use a 24-hour format.
15:13 Uhr.
The time and date is now set. The printer starts making all sorts of interesting noises. But this goes on for quite a while, so I ended up speeding up the entire process about 20 times in this video so we could get past it. At which point we're greeted with this message to start here, so I hit OK. And we get instructions about filling ink, which we've already done. I'm going to hit done. The warning again about not having this lever in the shipping position. You have to hold OK for 5 seconds to get past this. They really want to make sure you don't mess this step up. Don't mess it up. Now it discusses filling the ink. I'm going to hit proceed, and I'm going to hit proceed again, and again, and again, because this is already done. So now I'm going to hit start to start charging the ink, which is apparently to load it. And it says 9 minutes, and they do not disappoint, because I have sped this up really fast. And I did notice once it completed charging, the ink levels did drop slightly. I hit close, and I could select the paper type and source. By default, all three are set for 8.5 by 11 plain paper. I'll select cassette 1 just to go through it, selecting the paper type. And they have all various sorts of paper types that you can use. We're going to be using plain 8.5 by 11 for our testing right now. There are a lot of instructionals along the way, such as this example to load paper, which shows an animated graphic, and I could flip through here, just telling you how to put the paper in correctly. I guess that's handy, instead of having to refer to a book or online. I'll hit finish now, and we'll load the paper in to the cassette. You can pull it out and load it from the printer, as I'm doing here now, by adjusting this piece as well as this piece. But my wife was like, we could just pull this tray out and load it on a chair for a better angle with the camera. So we're going to do that, loading in the paper, and then just pushing this up to the right size, and we're done. So we're going to put that cassette right back in, lock it in position, paper's loaded. Cassette 2 would load the same way. So now I'll press OK. And this brings me to setting up the fax machine. I'm not going to be using a fax machine on here, so I'm going to hit close and do not remind me later. I would have thought somewhere along the line it would have taken you to like a network wizard, but it doesn't. So I'm going to go and configure the network by pressing that network icon on the top, which gives you two options. We'll look at the latter first, because this is Wi-Fi direct. Why we'd want to directly connect your device to the printer, I have no idea the use in that, because you'd be connecting your phone to the printer as a access point. I just wanted to show that. We'll go back and use a conventional connection to a router on our home network, hitting start setup now to do that. And I could use WPS, but that wouldn't be any fun in this video. So I'm going to use their Wi-Fi setup wizard. And I've sped up the search portion of this. It's funny, I have MeshNet, so it found my network several times. They'll probably fix that in software. But I'm going to type in my password and connect to it. And we'll wait a bit to see if it connects. Again, speeding this up. And it worked because it says setup is complete. So I'm going to hit close now. And before I can even touch it, it closes on its own because messages start popping up. This is for customer research. So I'm going to try and hit a button. And before I can hit it, another message pops up about registration. And now another message pops up about the firmware needing an update. So definitely connect to the network here. I managed to hit OK there. And over here, I'm just going to remind me later. And over here, I'm just going to say check back later. We'll deal with that later. Hitting close, I'll back out of the network configuration now, back to our main menu. Sliding all the way to the right to settings, selecting general settings, making my way down to system administration. I'll select that. Then I'll make my way all the way to the bottom. We'll find firmware update and select that. I'll press the update button, and then I'll press start checking. In a few seconds, it finds a new firmware, so I'll hit yes. And then after spinning for a good deal of time, I'll be left with the following message. Basically, stay away from the printer till it's done. It'll restart by itself, which after about 8 minutes, it did. And of course, it will reboot. And once it finishes rebooting, it should be on the correct version of firmware. We can see as the main menu comes back up, things aren't immediately back up. We can see that it takes a couple of seconds for certain services to restore. But after a few seconds, everything is up and running. All those nagging messages from before come back up again, one on top of the other before you could hit the button. So we'll just wait for that to finish and then we'll start working on it. For this one, I'm just going to hit yes to remind me later. And this one for the customer research, I'm just going to hit approve. It's asking me some information. I click OK. What country am I in? I hit USA. And that's it. That's all it wanted to know. I'm going to make my way over to settings now so we can finally print something. And in the settings menu, I'm going to make my way down to print status / print. And we're going to print status sheet. Configuration status seems like a good enough choice. We'll select that. But I'm also going to select the two-sided printing, which is one of the features we really wanted from this printer. So I'm going to hit print. And once I hit print, we could see that the output tray automatically rolls out if it's not already out, and the printing begins. And it prints and immediately pulls the paper back in to print the other side. Black and white printing seems very quick on this printer. And it's complete. Let's have a look. And the printing looks good, and not only that, we could see what all the settings are without having to go through the menus. So that's kind of convenient as well. The other side, again, all the information is printed correctly. So things are looking good. Do another test. And I'm going to push that tray back in just to see it come out again. I don't really have to, but I want to. Printing the supply information next. Again, both sides. The tray comes out. Funny thing on this one, prints one side, pulls it back in. There's nothing to print on the other side, but it still goes through the motions. And we can see as we check it out, we got our supply information, which is very little information, and nothing on the other side. Again, still pulled it in just in case it had to print something on the other side, though it didn't. I put together a shameless plug for our two-sided color copy test. So we'll do that now. Like, subscribe, share, comment below. As I place the paper here in the top tray, and I'm going to hit the copy button. Take a closer look. I'll hit color, obviously, and I want to make it two-sided. This took some thought to figure out how exactly I'm going to do this because it's not very intuitive, but that's the selection, and there's nothing else to change for me, and I'm only going to be making one copy. So I'll press start now, and we'll see if I got it right. Obviously, it's going to take twice as long because it has to do it twice. It also has to scan it twice. Let's see how it comes out. And just as it comes out, it gets pulled back in. And here comes the finished product. Let's have a look. Taking the original for comparison, we'll hold it up against the copy, and it was all done in the same direction, and the fidelity looks great. Flipping it over, it was also done on the exact same side. It wasn't inverted or anything in that manner. It came out real nice. I don't know anybody who today would still proof and then print full color images off a USB stick, but for the sake of completeness, we're going to plug this in. I've prepared a couple images, and the stick will be detected. We'll get a notification. Or just wait a minute. It will disappear if we don't click OK. And we could click on memory device, this icon, and you could choose either JPEG or TIFF. I haven't worked with a TIFF file in like 25 years, so JPEG it is. It starts in tile mode, but we'll go to single view so we can see the pictures a bit bigger. And there's Toby. We caught him having breakfast, but he don't mind. And here we have Lily laying on her back sleeping. I'm not actually going to print them, but you could click this right here to print them. I just wanted to show how this functionality works. I've seen a lot of chat about how these printers eventually, after a couple of years, fill up with waste ink, and you have to have them taken in to be repaired or throw them away. This is not true at all. The waste ink reservoir is right over here. As a matter of fact, you can pick this up on Amazon for about $15. Link provided in the comments below. And all you have to do is lift this white tab, and then the entire reservoir slides out to the left, which I'm not going to do because it's brand new. And then you put the new one in and lock this back down. And that's it. And this printer has all sorts of maintenance functions that are available in the menu, but is probably deserving of its own separate video. I just wanted to take a moment to point that one item out. I read a lot of issues about configuring this printer for Windows 11. We'll find out if it's true as I open up the home button and click on settings. From settings, I'm going to go and click on Bluetooth and devices. And then I'm going to click on printers and scanners. My Canon printer can be seen down here. We're going to add device up top. Searching for a device, it found the Epson printer. I'll click on it, and then I'll click on add device. It takes just a little bit of time to connect to the printer, followed by the installation, at which point it's completed. It says ready. Selecting the printer below, we could see all sorts of information and options for the printer, including the scanner. As I make my way up to scanner settings and click on it, it says Get Scanner App. I don't currently have it, so I click on it. A window opens from the Windows App Store with the Windows Scan. So I'll press Get, wait for it to install. I'll speed this up. And it's installed. So let's open it now. We can see it's currently set for my other printer, so I'm going to change it to our printer, the Epson. And then I want to set the source to the feeder. And just for the demo, I'll set the output to PDF. This program only goes to 300 dpi, even though it's a 1200 dpi scanner. I thought that to be strange. We're going to do scan to both sides, set the paper size, and of course, load the paper into the printer. Back on the application, we'll hit scan, and watch what happens. The 5800 is the most basic model that supports this dual side scanning feature. As we'll see here, it comes out the bottom and gets pulled back in and scanned on the opposite side. So anybody wondering why we bought the 5800, that is the exact reason. It is the most basic model that supports this feature. There's a model above this that has all the same features and does faster color printing. We'll minimize this and take a look in Adobe as the results were PDF, and we can see that the scan worked very nice, though in Adobe this was configured that the second page came out upside down. There are settings in the scanner that determine how the second page should be aligned to the first page when scanning both sides. So I'll close out the scan tool, and we're just going to print a regular Windows print test page. Clicking that now. We could see that coming out of the printer at this time. Strangely, you'll notice that as it's printing, the printer status in Windows says out of paper, though there are no issues printing. I just happened to see that as it was happening. It could be because cassette 1 is not currently set up as a default paper source. But there doesn't seem to be any problems whatsoever printing or scanning from Windows 11. 1 and 2 are about functionally identical, so I'm going to skip the configuration of 2. Instead, we're going to look at the paper feeder on the rear of the printer because there are some features here worth discussing. This tray slides up and then this flap slides around, allowing for a multitude of sizes. The adjustments to the width can be accomplished here just like on the other trays. However, I just want to point out that the paper prints face up as indicated. It shows envelopes which side the flap is, but notice the dash because the flap is on the bottom. So I'll take this number 10 size envelope with the flap on the left, pointed downward, and it's going to go in the middle of the tray right here, but I want to set these guides roughly in place and put it there, and then just push it in position. When paper goes in that tray, a configuration immediately appears, and we're going to set up for what we've got, and that's going to be envelope here on the bottom, number 10, and the paper type, which of course we also need to set up, and this is going to be envelope right here, and we're all set. Using my Office program of choice, I set up the envelope for printing. We'll print it out. Let's see what we get. Let's have a look. Everything came out correctly and in the right position, with my shameless plug to like, subscribe, share, and comment below on this video and others. So that's envelope. As far as OS installations go, Macintosh was even easier, clicking System Settings, scrolling down to the bottom and selecting Printers and Scanners. We could see my Canon MX450. I'll click Add, and in the list I see my new Epson 5800. I'll select it, and then I'll click Add on the bottom right. And after a few seconds, which I've sped up for the video, we'll see that it's now installed. I won't be adding a fax machine, so I'm going to hit Not Now. And that was it, really easy. So we'll click on the installed printer above. And we could look at Open Scanner over here, or Print Queue, as well as Options and Supplies, which I'll click on. And there's also supply levels, not entirely accurate, but better than nothing. So I'll cancel out of this and set this as my default printer over here. Then I'll make my way to Open Scanner. As it opens up, a preview is immediately taken of whatever's on the flatbed. The Mac scanning tool supports full 1200 dpi. Looking at the drop-down list, there are several possibilities. I'll set my quick test to 300 dpi. And this program has more features like detect separate items as we see here, which I could send right to the desktop. But once it's finished, I'm left with 4 separate JPEG files. Opening one of the files as I zoom in, and we can see that the resolution is very nice for the scanner. Other options include select and close box or scan the entire flatbed. And we can see that this time, as I zoom in on the pamphlet really close, that OCR is also supported. So I come in here on this date. On Ubuntu Linux, I hit the Start button and then Settings. Made my way down to Printers. And it was already installed. I didn't actually do anything. So I'll click on the menu and go down to Print Options. I can make those two-sided adjustments I need right over here, as well as the paper source and the type of paper can be also made here. I'll close this out now. Clicking the Start button again, I'll select Document Scanner on the left. It'll take several seconds to search for all of the online scanners. Once it finds it, I could select mine from the list. And then I'll set it up for single page because that's currently what I have in the printer. The Linux software supported the full 1200 DPI. I'm not going to get all into this again because we just reviewed the scanner, but it did work just fine on Linux with no issues. We're going to move on to the next item. On the download page for the printer, we can see there's a dedicated iOS and Android app. When I click on iOS, it will take me to the App Store for that app. I'll click Get. And once it's finished installing, I'll press Open. Sign all my rights away by clicking Agree. Then OK. I'll hit Next to start searching for the device. Allow finding devices on the local network. It found the printer, so I select it. The app configuration is now complete. Now I'll just choose the home screen style. And we're basically looking at all the printer features and controls on the app. So of course you're going to have the full-featured scanner. Interesting that their native scanner app only supports up to 600 DPI. Maintenance items like the print head cleaner, copy machine mode, file print capability, where I can print a file directly off my Apple or Android device. Also document capture, where you can read in a document with the camera. And that concludes this video on the unboxing, configuration, and evaluation of the Epson ET5800 printer. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?